And hello again, everyone. I'm Chris Lincoln. Welcome to Oklahoma Sports Scene, back here at the Lee Street Ice Center. Move from October into November of the sports calendar. And what time it is. The World Series is going on. The NBA and the NHL have started their seasons. Of course, at the midway point of the college football season. Not a great football season, by the way. Take a look at our guest lineup for this week. TU's miracle comeback. While OU and OSU continue their 0 for October run, the University of Tulsa staged one of the greatest comebacks in school history. Down 35-7 at halftime, they came back to outscore Texas San Antonio 46-45 to win. Head coach Kevin Wilson really excited about the victory. Longtime Major League Baseball announcer Bob Carpenter here to talk about the World Series. Our Tulsa Drillers manager Scott Hennessey got his call up to Los Angeles Dodgers to take part in the World Series, and also found out he has a promotion from the club going from AA Tulsa. Now they've been named the new manager of the Oklahoma City AAA franchise. We'll talk about it in a Zoom call from LA. Also about many of the drillers on the Dodger World Series lineup. Thoroughbred Racing's year-end championship event, the Breeders' Cup, will be run this Friday and Saturday at Del Mar Racecourse in San Diego. NBC TV sports analyst Randy Moss is with us for a preview of the 14 races worth over $33 million. Dale Day then has a Remington Park race report. By the way, you can bet the races, Breeders' Cup races at Remington Park. And Michael Knight with his weekly wrap-up of the best in Oklahoma high school football. Let's begin, though, with our Big Four college football scoreboard this past weekend with my team grades, and there's not a lot of great news for that. Only TU played at home, OU, OSU, and Arkansas on the road for conference games. Mention that incredible TU comeback 46-45 win over Texas San Antonio, A++ for TU, down 35-7 at halftime of their homecoming game. Battled back, outscored Texas San Antonio 39-10 in the second half, finishing off with that 92-yard, 8-play winning drive in the final 2 minutes for the victory. So how did the Golden Hurricane save homecoming? Here's our head coach, Kevin Wilson, said it happened.
So our goal at halftime was to come out and win the first 3-4 minutes of the third quarter and win the third quarter. And then from that, we started battling. Defense did a heck of a job. Coaches did a nice job making some changes. Offensive coaches did a great job. I came in this week and didn't do anything with the offense. I said I'm going to be a head coach for a change. And so Coach Spurrier, Coach Dennis, Coach Mays, Coach Fry, Coach Switzer did the offense. And I just yelled at the referees and encouraged our guys to play hard. That's all I did today.
Meanwhile, both Oklahoma and Oklahoma State finished 0 for October. The Sooners played one good half at Ole Miss before being shut out 16-0 in the second half, losing a fourth straight 26-14. Give them a D grade. The Cowboys lost their fifth straight Big 12 game at Baylor, 38-28. They gave up 343 rushing yards, had 12 penalties. They got a failing grade of F. Now they're in real danger, having their string of 18 consecutive winning seasons and 18 bowl trips snapped. They got a tough road to hoe now. The Razorbacks offense rolled at Mississippi State, winning 58-25 with a 5-3 record. Arkansas is the only winning Big Four team through October. An A for the Hogs. This week we have home games for the Sooners, Cowboys, and Razorbacks. While the Golden Hurricane play on the road on this first Saturday in November. As Coach Switzer always told me, they only remember November. Let's hope so. October was a disaster. Big Four football week 10, here it is, November 2nd. Starts at 11 in the morning with Ole Miss at Arkansas on ESPN. 1:30 p.m. Tulsa is at UAB. They've only won one game this season, so Tulsa has a good chance for victory there. Also 1:30, OU hosts the Black Bears of Maine. People laughed about this early in the year, but now they're very thankful that Maine's coming in to play OU to get hopefully another victory. That's on ESPN+. And at 6 p.m., Arizona State is at Oklahoma State on Fox Sports 1. Big game for the Cowboys. Here's this week's 9th Associated Press College Football National Poll. The top 4 teams in this week's 9th poll remain the same. Oregon 1, Georgia 2, Penn State 3, and Ohio State 4. But Miami and Florida has jumped over Texas for the 5th spot. That's the highest ranking for the Hurricane since 2017. Then Notre Dame, BYU, and Texas A&M all moved in to the top 10. The University of Oklahoma last week fired its offensive coordinator, Seth Luttrell. He only coached 7 games in his 3-year contract, leaves OU with a $2.6 million buyout. And once again, I ask for all of us, how can we get a job like that? Now our hot topics of the Tulsa World. Tulsa Ice Holders opened the 24-25 hockey season winning their first 3 games on home ice, 7-1, 4-1 over Rapid City, and crushing Allen 8-2. They dropped 2 to Wichita. Saturday's game, though, was head coach Rob Murray's 500th regular season game behind the Tulsa bench. In his 8th season, Murray leads in every major Oilers category: wins, percentage victories, and most playoff appearances. With a 3-2 start to the season, the Oilers have 2 more home games this Saturday, November 2nd at 7:05, then Sunday afternoon, November the 3rd on the home ice. Team now leaves on a 5-game road trip to Allen, Texas, Wichita, and Tahoe. Next game for the Oilers at home is November the 21st. And if we're not ready for another sport, here we go. The 24-25 NCAA Division I men's college basketball season tips off this Monday, November 4th. Regular season ends on March the 16th, 2025. The Final Four begins on March 18th, ending with a national championship game April the 7th at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, Texas. Locally, TU, OU, and OSU all open their basketball seasons Monday, November 4th at home. Tulsa hosts Northeastern State at 7 p.m. We're honoring former coaching legend Ken Hayes in that game. OU plays Lindenwood at 8 p.m. in Norman. Oklahoma State takes on Green Bay and Gallagher-Iba at 8 p.m. Both Oral Roberts and Arkansas start play next Wednesday. By the way, the Razorbacks, under their new head coach, John Calipari, very impressive in a preseason 85-69 exhibition win last week in Fayetteville over number 1 ranked Kansas. Sellout crowd 19,200 in Fayetteville. FC Tulsa ended its 2024 soccer season here on Saturday with a 2-1 win over Monterey Bay FC. Tulsa scored in the 10th minute with Alex Sawahi converting a free kick from Harvey St. Clair, his 4th goal, a new single-season record. What proved to be the winning goal came in the 31st minute from Andrew Booth, drilling a shot from the top right, 18-yard box. Owen Dam with the assist there. Final win, FC Tulsa finished 9 wins, 14 losses, 11 ties, 38 points, 10th place. That's 2 behind the playoffs. And the Oklahoma City Thunder, after a great start, 3-0 so far this season, undefeated, playing great. World Series, of course, underway. And we have a lot of sports to catch up on, starting with the World Series. And Bob Carpenter, calls a lot of baseball, Major League Baseball voice of the Washington Nationals, is here to talk baseball with us and the World Series. We come right back.
Billy Sims knows barbecue.
Like what?
How about 9 meats, including brisket, chicken, pork, turkey, and ribs?
Okay, how?
We start early to slow smoke the most delicious meats for over 12 hours.
So when?
Every day.
Where?
Wherever you want. Online, dine in, curbside, or carry out. We've had a passion for over 15 years of serving delicious barbecue to people like you. Billy Sims has fast, drop-in friendly neighborhood service. Loud enough for a tailgate and fancy enough for a wedding. Like we said, Billy Sims knows barbecue.
Shields is now open at the Woodland Hills Mall in Tulsa, and we can't thank you enough for the warm welcome. Whether you love the great outdoors, sports, or fashion, Shields has something for everyone. Our passionate and knowledgeable Shields experts are excited to welcome you to explore thousands of brands and premium products. From our golf simulator, service shop, archery lanes, and more, we're ready to get you fitted with the best gear for you. We can't wait to see you at Shields.
The Tulsa Oilers are back on the ice for another ice melt a year. He shoots, he scores. This Saturday, 7:05 at the BOK Center, the Oilers take the ice against the Iowa Heartlanders for First Responders Night. The first 1,000 fans get a free Tulsa Oilers t-shirt. Don't miss the ultimate in fast-paced entertainment. It's turned over and going the other way. Get your tickets now at TulsaOilers.com. It's smash-mouth, hard-hitting, pulse-pounding excitement. Oh, I can feel that one. Tickets at TulsaOilers.com. This is your town, your team, your Tulsa Oilers hockey are back.
Our story, it lives in Tulsa, where the spirit of the past lives alongside us and urges us on toward a vibrant future. Because our story is still being written. It's the story of Tulsa, told by the journalists who live it and love it. Whether it's covering our rich history, bringing you the hidden gems of the food scene, or following the action in local sports. And here, in the Tulsa world, is where it comes to life.
And welcome back to Oklahoma Sports Scene, and welcome back an old friend of mine, DC, Bob Carpenter, my old colleague from KTO days, took over my job as sports director there and went on to great fame in the networks with ESPN and all kinds of other big events, but mainly we know Bob as a baseball announcer, one of the best. In Major League Baseball, how many years now in the big leagues for you, Bob?
Well, 41 right now.
Wow.
And if I go back for another year with the Nationals, and I'm planning to.
Oh, good. Yeah, I got you. See that?
That would be 20 in D.C.
Wow. Well, I know it all started with you in St. Louis. You also been to a lot of World Series. We're in the middle of the World Series right now as we tape this show on Monday, so I'll let you know that. But can't get much better than the Yankees and Dodgers.
You know what, Chris? The first World Series I ever went to, not as a fan, but as a broadcaster.
Really?
You sent me there. The Royals played the Phillies in 1980. And I was on your staff at Channel 8.
Yeah, exactly. That's
you
right.
sent me to Kansas City.
Yep.
I think the Royals had the 3 middle games, maybe the first 2 games of that series. And the Phillies would end up winning that series.
Right.
But the only World Series I've ever attended as a broadcaster was thanks to Chris Lincoln.
Is that right?
I don't know how you got me a credential, but you did.
That's what your memories are in World Series. You've been as a fan several times, right?
Yeah,
Cardinals, of course.
4 or 5 with the Cardinals.
Right.
And I guess as a so-called broadcaster, the other one was 2019 with the Nationals when they beat the Astros. Obviously no play-by-play because the networks all take care of that. But my partner and I were doing pregame and postgame, so we were on site in Houston. But you were my first time, and 2019
Wow.
was my second. So that was only, 39 years later.
Dodgers, Yankees, of course, TV loves that. National, coast to coast.
Big audiences, big payroll ball clubs.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Fox did not want Kansas City or Detroit playing whoever else from and that's just, that's the facts of life. Cardinal fans know that. They're not a huge market team.
Yeah.
But they've got some aura. They've got some history. But I was rooting for the Royals or the Tigers.
Yeah.
And I know you lived
Detroit.
in Michigan there,
Big
Detroit
Tiger
area
fan,
when you were a little guy. In fact, I remember you and I, first time we went up there for a soccer game, you drove me around town and showed me the old neighborhood and all that. We had a great time. But, you can't blame the networks. They want their revenue. They want the audience. So they got what they wanted. I'm sure they would feel better right now as we're taping this on Monday.
Yeah.
If it was 1-1.
Right.
But the Dodgers won those first 2 games in LA. I don't think it's going to be a sweep.
Yeah.
I would be shocked.
Right.
If the Dodgers swept or won it in 5 games. I think the series is going to go back to LA. But, it's uphill for the Yankees, Chris.
Yeah.
They got to win 4 of the next 5 games to win the World Series, and that's really hard to do.
And the big star, Judge, isn't hitting right now.
He can be pitched to when he's not locked in.
Yeah.
Case in point, I think it was late August, early September, the Yankees were in D.C.
Yeah.
We got a bunch of young pitchers.
Sure.
4 of them were lefties. 3 of them are young guys flipping pretty good fastballs, change-ups, and curveballs up there. And in that 3-game series, Judge, Stanton, and Soto went something like 4 for 35 against us. And I think Giancarlo drove in 1 run, and that was it. We pitched those guys great. So I think the Yankees are an easier team to pitch to than the Dodgers are.
Right.
The Dodgers have a bunch of guys. There's Freddie Freeman, there's Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts. But they have a bunch of other guys, Max Muncy, their catcher Smith, Tommy Edman, the former Cardinal, who's having an amazing postseason, MVP of the LCS. They have a bunch of other guys who are tough to pitch to. They work the count. They make you throw them 3 strikes as a rule to get out. They don't make too many outs early in the count, and they are really, really tough. Another case in point, when the Dodgers played, the series before they got into the World Series,
The Mets.
they were walked by the Mets 42 times. 42 times. That's 6 times a game. 3 times a game is too many.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of lineup they have. I think the Yankees have a little better starting pitching because the Dodgers have had a lot of injuries. But the lineup, I think LA's got a better lineup, even though the Yankees have those 3 monsters right in the middle of it.
As they say, you get what you pay for, Bob. And the second largest payroll, Yankees are $311 million, right behind the Dodgers, $266 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the team with the highest payroll, the Mets, they're not playing right now.
That's right.
So,
wow.
And the Phillies have an amazingly high payroll too, with Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, all those guys. And now I heard today that they're emerging as one of the ball clubs that's really going to go hard after Juan Soto when he becomes a free agent. If Juan Soto signs with the Phillies after Bryce Harper left us and went there, Kyle Schwarber left us and went there, and Trey Turner left us and went there, Nationals fans are probably going to boycott Philadelphia. They're never going to spend a dime in that city anymore, and maybe they won't even want to come to the games when the Phillies come into D.C. It's really tough to take when you see players from your ball club leave and go to a divisional foe, much less the team your fans hate the most, and that's the Phillies.
I know you and I both love baseball history, and you can't get much more history than the Yankees and the Dodgers. Yankees 12 World Series, first in 43 years. That's hard to believe, though. First World Series in 43 years.
Well, that's the last time the Dodgers and Yankees played each other.
Exactly right.
And that's amazing because in the 50s, Brooklyn and the Bronx, they were playing each other almost every year.
That's right. New York leads the series, by the way, 8-3 between the two teams. So how do you feel? What's the key to this series? Then the Yankees get back into this thing?
Well, I think so, but they're going to have to pitch to the Dodgers. And Yankee Stadium, it can be a bandbox. If you don't make hitters hit the ball from deep right center over to deep left center, it's a pretty cozy ballpark. And the Dodgers, Ohtani's a left-hander. That short porch in right field.
That's
Freddie
right, yeah.
Freeman's a left-hander. Short porch in right field. Max Muncy's a lefty. The Dodgers could go in there and do a lot of damage. And, players and managers and coaches, you know this. You've interviewed thousands of them.
Yeah.
They'll always say, there's no such thing as a must-win game.
Yeah.
No.
No.
Game 3 is a must-win for the Yankees. They've got to win Game 3, or else they're in the deepest trouble you could ever be in.
Have you had a chance to see much in person of Shohei Ohtani? Is he as amazing as everybody says?
Well, this year I got to see him in L.A. and in D.C.
Okay.
And again, we pitched him pretty well. He did more damage against us in L.A. than he did in Washington. But, he's a hybrid player. He's throwing off the mound, evidently, and he'll be ready to pitch again next year.
Yeah.
Now, how will that affect his offensive numbers, his power, his RBIs, his batting average, and all that? We'll see, because pitching's a big deal. And to go out, even if you're DHing and have 4 at-bats the day after you've pitched 7 or 8 innings, that's something that's really unusual, and I don't know how he's going to do that and hit as well as he is right now, but he's evidently, according to everybody I've talked to, and I talked to a lot of ex-players and managers and coaches, guys that are still in the game, he's the most unique player in the history of Major League Baseball.
Wow.
Babe Ruth did a lot of pitching early in his career and all that, but then he didn't pitch anymore. But Ohtani, he's more unique pretty much than anybody who's ever played this game.
You said this Freeman kid is a real special player. Great guy. The guy hit the grand slam.
Oh, Freddie Freeman.
Freddie Freeman.
Love Freddie Freeman.
Yeah, you said great kid.
I met him several years ago. The Braves were in D.C. We were getting ready to play them. I wanted him to autograph a couple of baseballs for our charity golf tournament here in Tulsa. Yeah. And so I was on the radio on my way to the ballpark, and the host asked me about Freddie Freeman. In a nutshell, I said, you can't hate the guy, even though he kills us, because he's one of the best people in the game.
Nice. Yeah.
You'd want your daughter to marry Freddie Freeman, and you would want him to be on your team. I get to the ballpark, I go in the Braves clubhouse, and I'm walking up to introduce myself to him, and he looks at me and says, I heard what you said about me on the radio a few minutes ago. And I said, wow, I'm glad I said great things, because you're that kind of guy. He signed the baseballs. That was my baptism with Freddie Freeman, one of the great guys in this game.
Well, Washington Nationals, another tough season. Bob, heading back for another one. What do you think?
Yeah, we're the youngest team in baseball, Chris. We won 71 games, same as last year. A lot of young talent, infield, outfield, and on the pitching staff. And if our owners spend some money this offseason, we need a big bat at first base or third base, maybe another starting pitching. Bullpen's good. We got a chance. But we're in the division with the Mets, the Phillies, and the Braves, and that's not an easy thing.
Enjoy your offseason, BC.
Good to see you, buddy.
Give Deb my best.
All right, Chris.
Thanks again, fellow. Appreciate that. Come right back with another baseball man, Scott Hennessey, with a new job in Oklahoma City. That's next on Oklahoma Sports Scene.
Shields is now open at the Woodland Hills Mall in Tulsa, and we can't thank you enough for the warm welcome. Whether you love the great outdoors, sports, or fashion, Shields has something for everyone. Our passionate and knowledgeable Shields experts are excited to welcome you to explore thousands of brands and premium products. From our golf simulator, service shop, archery lanes, and more, we're ready to get you fitted with the best gear for you. We can't wait to see you at Shields.
Founded in 1960, Ed Bashira's Formal Wear and Fine Clothing has been dressing gentlemen for over half a century. We are family owned and operated, offering premium brand tuxedos and accessories in our Tulsa store on South Harvard. Bashira's also does made-to-measure suits, sports coats, dress shirts, and slacks, and a top line of sportswear. We do tailoring on-site to assure the perfect fit so you will look your very best for that special occasion. Ed Bashira's Formal Wear and Fine Clothing, an Oklahoma tradition.
As the sun rises over eastern Oklahoma, we are devoted to one thing: improving the health of our communities, our home. We are your friends. your neighbors. We are the people of St. Francis.
Thoroughbred season at Remington Park continues into December with plenty of winning primetime action. The final evening of the season will feature horses trying to reach the 2025 Kentucky Derby by competing in the Springboard Mile. Remington Park's top 2-year-old stakes event of the year leads a stakes-filled program. The normal Remington Park Racing Week is Wednesday through Saturday, first race nightly, 6:30 p.m. Special Monday and Tuesday racing happens in late November at 2:30 p.m. Visit RemingtonPark.com for all post times, group rates, and dining reservations.
Back on the Coast Sports Scene with breaking news. We recorded this segment with Scott Hennessey, our Drillers manager, now on the LA Dodgers staff during the World Series. Out in LA, and he said, Chris, I got some news for you. I'm leaving Tulsa, going to Oklahoma City to take over the Dodgers AAA farm club there. I asked him what he's going to miss most about Tulsa.
I came out to help the club, the big league club, the day after the last game in Colorado. They talked about it a little bit, went through the process and with Will Rhymes and Brandon Gomes, and think they made it official about 2 weeks ago. I'm definitely going to miss Tulsa. It's a new challenge, new chapter, excited to go. But, a lot of friends, a lot of family, the Driller organization I'm going to miss, but it's time to move on, and looking forward to the new challenge.
7 seasons here with the Tulsa Drillers, now over to Oklahoma City, and they've rebranded themselves the Comets, but still involved in the Dodgers now, a farm team, right?
Yeah, AAA, that's what they're going to unveil it on Saturday night. I'll be there for that, and looking forward to meeting some great new people and start a new chapter.
Well, we'll miss you, Scott. Did a great job here in Tulsa, and best to you and the family. Congratulations on the call up. But let's talk about the LA skyline in the background now, World Series time. Talk about the atmosphere around LA as they head for the World Series with the Yankees.
Yeah, it's what the media wants, what the people want, it's what baseball wants. 2 huge markets, 2 huge payrolls, 2 great teams, 2 great organizations. It's going to be intense. It's going to be a good series. It's going to come down to execution. Who makes pitches, who gets 2 out hits, who runs the bases better, who plays better defense, and hopefully the Dodgers can get it done. My prediction is the Dodgers are going to get it done in 6.
Who has the edge as far as the pitching goes? I know the Yankees are very proud of their bullpen, certainly.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's both of these teams have good starters, really good back end guys, good middle guys. I wouldn't say we have the edge or they have the edge. It's just going to come down to who makes pitches, who gets their matchups right, right on right, left on left. Controlling Soto is going to be a big thing. Soto and Judge, that's what makes them go. But there's 7 other guys. Stanton's hot. There's 7 other guys in the lineup. So if we make pitches, I think we'll be successful, and I think we'll swing the bat enough. We're hot. Hopefully Freddie gets in there a couple games, and I think he will. And Dodgers are going to prevail in this one.
Your impressions of the superstar, the incredible Shohei Ohtani?
Just from being out here, especially in the, we had a week off before the Padres series, and just seeing that, the batting practice, the live ABs, the inter squads, how he goes about his business. Like I've said before, it's a generational type player. Don't think we'll ever see it again. And I think people forget this year because he hasn't pitched. The guy throws 100 miles an hour with 2+ pitches on top of that, and he'll be back next year pitching. So just great to be around. The guy's a winner, and he's obviously a first ballot Hall of Famer someday. But just great to be around.
Visiting with Scott Hennessey, our now former Tulsa Drillers manager, just took a new position with the Los Angeles Dodgers, moving up to their big team, the AAA team in Oklahoma City. They've rebranded the Comets. But obviously, the number one goal, and you've had this in your 7 seasons here in Tulsa, develop players for the big league club and get them up there to help in the championship series. You've certainly done that. Talk about some of our drillers who now going to be wearing Dodger blue in the World Series.
Well, you got Will Smith, our starting catcher. He was in Tulsa, did a great job. Gavin Lux, um, he was our shortstop, for a year and a half there in Tulsa. Now he's playing second base, but he was the minor league player of the year when he was there. You got Walker Buehler, probably going to go game 3. I mean, obviously he's been one of the best pitchers in the playoffs the last 5 or 6 years. Andy Pajes is a new guy to the Dodger scene. He was with us for a year and a half. Hit 2 home runs against the Mets in the NLCS. Landon Knack closed out a game. We had 4 drillers close out games. Landon Knack, Enriquez Hernandez, Ben Kasparius, Roboleski's been up there. Blake Trinan finished a game. He was in Tulsa this year on a rehab. So a lot of guys from Tulsa. We produced a lot of big leaguers. We've got guys ready. We've sped up the process on their timeline, and that's our job. And that's what's so gratifying about what we do.
You're going to say 3 of your pitchers actually combined to have a part in all of those 4 NL Championship Series wins over the Mets.
Yeah. We had Kasparius, Enriquez, Blake Trinan. So, yeah, those guys are all doing a good job. No one thought Ben Kasparius was really a prospect, but that guy just kept working and working and working out there early every day, working on his delivery, and he's throwing the ball really, really well right now. And we got some more coming. We got, Jack Dreyer. He could actually be here. He was here for the Stay Hot week and, through inter-squad games, and he threw really well. So there's more Dodgers coming, and that's what we're going to do is just keep getting them better, getting these guys ready for the big leagues and hopefully win a World Series.
And also in the past decade, big names like Clayton Kershaw and Kiki Hernandez also were here at One Oak Field.
Yeah, Kershaw made that rehab start that day, and what a day that was, and for the fans, and he went 5 strong. Great to be around. The thing about Kershaw, people don't know this. Like, I get to the ballpark really early, and he threw the night game, and I got there the next morning at 9:00, and I'm walking down the stairs, and I hear the elliptical going. And I'm like, man, who is this here this early? I thought it was maybe someone from upstairs working out. And Kershaw had like a full-on sweat. I mean, just getting after it.
Wow.
It's probably got there at 8:00 and just crushing his workouts. And that's why he's had the career he's had and the longevity.
Yankees have only 1 former driller on their roster. Talk about the outfielder Alex Verdugo.
Yeah, and he was a Dodger draft. He was a 2-way guy out of high school. A lot of teams liked him as a pitcher. Logan White and company, our scouting director back then, liked him as a position player. Was a high prospect for us. Did a great job for us. He's played with Boston. He's a tough out. He can hit lefties, and he's definitely a threat in this series. But we're going to have to make pitches to him and get him out, and hopefully we can win a World Series.
And we got also another former Oral Roberts University star of catching for the Yankees. Jose Trevino's had a heck of a career.
He's doing a good job. Put together a good career. Steady ball player. Calls a good game. Good receiver. Can be a threat at the plate if you make mistakes. But he's the enemy right now, so I'm not going to say too much good about him. We got But no, he's a good player, and he's a good player and had a good career, and he's done it the right way.
Well, we know from your Dodger Blue standpoint who's going to win the World Series, but what will decide this World Series?
I think it's going to come down to the back end of the bullpen from the 7th inning on, who does a better job getting outs, holding a lead, or keeping the game tied, and just making pitches. And whoever gets the 2-out hits, the big hits, is going to win the series.
Scott Hennessey with the big club, the Dodgers, for the World Series coming this week, of course. And also, we just got the news and announcing that he is leaving the Tulsa Drillers, going on to Oklahoma City, take over that franchise, the main big farm club for the Los Angeles Dodgers. They've rebranded themselves as the Comets. That starts next season. But Scott, congratulations on your move up, but we'll sure miss you here in Tulsa. Thanks for all you've done for the Tulsa baseball scene.
Thank you, Chris, for having me on. The friendship, you and Becky, and man, it's I'll still come on if you need me, and lifelong friends.
All the best, and go Dodgers.
Let's get them. Let's go. It's go time.
There's another big championship event on the West Coast next weekend. is the Breeders' Cup Championships. Randy Moss of NBC Sports has the preview when we come back.
Billy Sims knows barbecue.
Like what?
How about 9 meats, including brisket, chicken, pork, turkey, and ribs?
Okay, how?
We start early to slow smoke the most delicious meats for over 12 hours.
So when?
Every day.
Where?
Wherever you want. Online, dine in, curbside, or carry out. We've had a passion for over 15 years of serving delicious barbecue to people like you. Billy Sims has fast, drop-in friendly neighborhood service. Loud enough for a tailgate and fancy enough for a wedding. Like we said, Billy Sims knows barbecue.
The Tulsa Oilers are back on the ice for another ice melt a year. He shoots, he scores. This Saturday, 7:05 at the BOK Center, the Oilers take the ice against the Iowa Heartlanders for First Responders Night. The first 1,000 fans get a free Tulsa Oilers t-shirt. Don't miss the ultimate in fast-paced entertainment. It's turned over and going the other way. Get your tickets now at TulsaOilers.com. It's smash-mouth, hard-hitting, pulse-pounding excitement. Oh, I can feel that one. Tickets at TulsaOilers.com. This is your town, your team, your Tulsa Oilers hockey are back.
Around the clock, throughout eastern Oklahoma, we are devoted to one thing: improving the health of our communities, our home. We are your friends, your neighbors. We are the people of St. Francis.
This weekend, another championship event on the West Coast. It's the 41st running of the Breeders' Cup Thoroughbred Championships. 14 races, all Grade 1, worth over $33 million. Best horses around the world competing. Randy Moss of NBC Sports is their main analyst. He's with us now to give you a preview of the big race. But first, Randy, how many Breeders' Cup Championships have you been to?
I knew you were going to do that to me, Chris. I've done all but 2.
Wow.
I missed the opening. I missed 1984. I watched it on TV. And then when I was working at Oaklawn Park in management, I missed the 1995 Breeders' Cup. Other than that, so I've been to 38 of them. This will be 39.
14 races worth $33 million over 2 days. All begins on Friday there, what they call their Future Stars Friday, November 1st, with 5 races for 2-year-olds. What's the big story for the 2-year-olds?
Well, I mean, the big story in general this year at the Breeders' Cup, there's 2 primary storylines, okay? And this fits with 2-year-olds as well, at least one of the storylines. The first storyline, which I'm sure you'll touch on, is City of Troy coming over for Coolmore to run in the Classic. But the other storyline, 19 horses have been pre-entered from Japan, including a couple of 2-year-olds that have an excellent chance to win. As a matter of fact, Japan has a fighting chance to win the very first 2 Breeders' Cup races that we're going to see on Friday, the Juvenile Turf Sprint and then the Juvenile Fillies. So, yeah, I mean, it's, the land of the rising sun might be off to a pretty fast start at the Breeders'. And the last time the Breeders' Cup was at Del Mar, 2021, that was the year that the Japanese got their very first 2 Breeders' Cup wins. They only had maybe 6 horses that year or so, and now they've come with 19. So they're going all out this year.
Well, that Friday, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile $2 million race. It is a mile and a 16th on the dirt, post time 6:45 Central Time. And of course, it's the one everybody talks about. This will give us the favorite for the Kentucky Derby. But wait a minute, history is not too kind to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile winner and the Kentucky Derby.
A lot of times the horses that win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile are the early maturing type horses, like the kids that we grew up with in junior high that were shaving. And then by the time they were seniors in high school, everybody had caught up with them or passed them by. It's kind of like the 2-year-old colts. A lot of times they really mature early. When the Kentucky Derby rolls around, they've already been surpassed by some of their peers. The 2 horses in there that are getting the most attention are Godolphin's East Avenue, who won the prep race at Keeneland called the Breeders' Futurity. He's a very good horse, trained by Brendan Walsh. Speed. The other horse is from the Chad Brown barn, and his name is Chancer McPatrick. And his running style couldn't be more opposite from East Avenue. He's typically last or next to last early in his races. So the 2 styles converge at Del Mar in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And what might make the difference, Chris, and we'll be talking about this a lot on NBC, Del Mar has the second shortest dirt stretch run of any major racetrack in America. Gulfstream Park is the only track that's shorter. Yeah. So that would favor a speed horse like East Avenue a lot more than it would a closer like Chancellor McPatrick.
Only 2 winners this juvenile, Raymond covered so many of them, have gone on to win the Kentucky Derby. Go back to 2006, Street Sense. The last one was Nyquist, 2015. So as you said, it's not always a precursor to who win the Roses as a 3-year-old.
Exactly, and Street Sense has never sired a Breeders' Cup winner. He's 0 for 10, but he's got some pretty good chances this year to actually strike in that category as well.
Then, of course, the big day is Saturday. The races leading up to the $7 million Breeders' Cup Classic. Everyone wants to know who's the favorite for the Classic.
That's going to be fascinating. It really is. Right now, I mean, we'll see what the post position draw is a little bit later this afternoon. We're taping this on Monday. But I know in the European markets, which are not always a good barometer of what the Americans are going to be betting like, City of Troy is a solid favorite. Aidan O'Brien has said for the last year that City of Troy is the best horse he's ever trained. He's owned by Coolmore, of course, the conglomerate from Ireland that supported the Breeders' Cup so enthusiastically over the years, but they've never managed to win the Breeders' Cup Classic. They have had the Breeders' Cup Classic penciled in for City of Troy since he very first started racing, and that's because, unlike a lot of the Coolmore horses that have tried to win the Classic that are bred for grass, City of Troy is the son of Justify, the Triple Crown winner in 2018. Right. So at least on the top side, the paternal side of his pedigree, he's bred for dirt. Fierceness is the horse that was the disappointment in the Kentucky Derby, but he's bounced back since then to run 2 really good races. And that's where the favoritism is going to come down, I think, either Fierceness or City of Troy. But look, there are other 3-year-olds that are really good. You've got Forever Young, for example. Forever Young is the Japanese horse that was beaten 2 noses in the Kentucky Derby and might have been the best horse. And then there's Sierra Leone, also owned by Coolmore, who, of course, has been racing in the United States as opposed to City of Troy. He's from the Chad Brown barn. So those are the 4, I think, that are really going to get the most attention. City of Troy, Fierceness, Sierra Leone, and the Japanese horse Forever Young.
Hey, Brian, a good friend of ours. You and I've been to the great yard at Ballydoyle, the historic Irish thoroughbred factory over there. And it's amazing to me. He has had 17 different horses in the Breeders' Cup Classic, come close, but never won with one. And this year, I just saw Aidan has 18 pre-entered in the Breeders' Cup this year, the most ever.
Yeah, a lot of them have dropped out over the last few days. It hasn't really made a lot of headlines. I think he's down to 11 now. The veterinary checks for the last few years at the Breeders' Cup are unbelievably detailed. The horses are under so much scrutiny because of the obviously the advances and the initiatives for horse safety. And I think Coolmore was a little embarrassed last year because the vets scratched one of the horses that they had brought over to race in the Breeders' Cup. This year, they're not taking any chances whatsoever. Anything that's even got a pimple on them, they're not bringing them over. So their 18 have been reduced to 10, but it's a really good 10. So Coolmore will be heard from.
Of course, this is also the event, the Breeders' Cup Championships, meaning just that, where they mostly decide the year-end champions. There's some of those titles still up for grabs, or are they pretty well set?
A lot of them are up for grabs. Horse of the Year is up for grabs, actually. Right. And one of the favorites for Horse of the Year right now is Torpedo Anna, who will be the heavy favorite in the Breeders' Cup Distaff. Now the defending champ Idiomatic has dropped out. Torpedo Anna won the Kentucky Oaks. She was second in the Travers against the Colts. Ran a huge race. Fierceness just barely held her off during the last furlong there. And so Torpedo Anna is probably going to be 4 to 5 or so in the distaff. And she could throw her hat in the ring pretty solidly for Horse of the Year if she comes through in the distaff. Ken McPeak, her trainer, trying to win his very first Breeders' Cup race. He's come close a lot of times, but Kenny is 0 for 37 lifetime at the Breeders' Cup. He would love for people to quit talking about that.
All right. We always used to have fun with our ESPN broadcast. You were always so good to pick us our
Bud long shot.
Bud long shot among all these races, 14 in the Breeders' Cup, Friday and Saturday. Who's the Bud long shot to give us a big payday?
Let's stick with the classic. That's the race that garners the most attention. And there's a horse in there trained by your old good friend Bill Mott.
Oh gosh, yes.
Whose name is Arthur's Ride. Arthur's Ride ran a couple of sensational races earlier this year, including a win in the Whitney that was just a tour de force. Then he didn't run so well in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. They brought him back in 4 weeks. He didn't run very well. He hasn't run since because Mott has been pointing him specifically for the Breeders' Cup. He'll probably set the pace. They might leave him alone on the front end. And so I think at a probably, 12-1 or so, maybe even 15-1, I think Arthur's Ride has a chance to go wire to wire at a nice Bud long shot price.
Well, Randy, look forward to your coverage on NBC. Busy week for you guys. Friday and Saturday is certainly there, and look forward to that. And also, of course, look forward to you picking a winner for us. And give me a winning ticket. Bring home for me.
I'll try to. I just got here, Chris. I'm in my rental car. There you go. Just boots on the ground. Can't wait.
But you're at Del Mar. Hard to beat that. Where the turf meets the surf. In fact, they're doing it 2 years in a row at Del Mar, right?
I love it. Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Randy, thanks again we'll hopefully get a recap from you next week on Oklahoma Sports Scene.
Take care, my friend.
Go next to Remington Park. We'll be covering all of the races. You can bet the Breeders' Cup races at Remington Park. Dale Day is coming up next on Oklahoma Sports Scene.
The Wee Street Ice Center, the coolest place in town, is the only place you can skate like the pros. With 2 rinks, there's always time to strap on the blades and hit the ice. The Wee Street Ice Center at 43rd and Yale is your family fun destination. Try out the game simulator rooms or hit the arcade. When you get hungry, grab a bite at Puck's Sports Bar and Grill with delicious food, great drink specials, and more. It's Midtown Tulsa's coolest entertainment center. Wee Street Ice Center, the coolest place in town. Come get your skate on.
The Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, home of the Paycom Jim Thorpe Award, is a treasure trove of memorabilia honoring Oklahoma sports legends. For museum hours or to schedule a tour, go to oklahomasportshalloffame.org.
As the sun rises over eastern Oklahoma, we are devoted to one thing: improving the health of our communities, our home. We are your friends, your neighbors. We are the people of St. Francis.
Thoroughbred season at Remington Park continues into December with plenty of winning primetime action. The final evening of the season will feature horses trying to reach the 2025 Kentucky Derby by competing in the Springboard Mile. Remington Park's top 2-year-old stakes event of the year leads a stakes-filled program. The normal Remington Park racing week is Wednesday through Saturday. First race nightly, 6:30 p.m. Special Monday and Tuesday racing happens in late November at 2:30 p.m. Visit RemingtonPark.com for all post times, group rates, and dining reservations. The focus at Remington Park the rest of this season is on 2-year-old racing as we move towards Springboard Mile Night on December 13th. The Clever Trevor Stakes was the feature this past week at Remington Park. Top 2-year-olds, $75,000 event at 7 furlongs, getting ready for that springboard. A field of 8 for the Clever Trevor Stakes going 7 furlongs. Number 1, My Wife Is Right, was a scratch. Here is the Clever Trevor. They're off in the Clever Trevor Stakes. Good start for Texas Creed. Also right there, Dominant Spirit near the rail, Travaggio, forwardly placed as well as Medicine Dog and 3 Echoes, 5th early on. After that, Jolly Samurai 6th, length and a half clear of Hot Gunner. Keno the trailer, but now taking an inside path, only about 7 from the front. Texas Creed shows the way onto the backstretch, and now Dominant Spirit moving up, trying to draw even. Medicine Dog is right there 3rd, a length back. Midway up the backstretch in 4th, Travaggio, 3 Echoes is 5th, 5 from the lead, and then a gap of almost 4. Back to Jolly Samurai, Keno, then Hot Gunner. Less than a half mile to go. The opening quarter went in 23.47. As they move to the turn, 3 Texas Creed showing the way. Dominant Spirit is next. 3 furlongs left. They get the half in 47.18. Rolling along up front. Texas Creed, Dominant Spirit, now coming up the rail. Here's Travaggio, full of run. 3 Echoes trying to pick a lane. Also in the mix, Medicine Dog, quarter mile to go. Hot Gunner and Jolly Samurai taking the wide route. Keno taking the short path from the back. Race on, top of the stretch, and the Clever Trevor. It's Dominant Spirit there by length. Coming on, Texas Creed, Travaggio. Farther out, Jolly Samurai trying to reel them all in. Medicine Dog a player as well. Dominant Spirit trying to hold off Jolly Samurai, and Jolly Samurai has all the steam. Final yards, Jolly Samurai gets the head in front and wins the Clever Trevor by a half length. Make it back-to-back stakes victories this season for Jolly Samurai, who won the Kip DeVille Stakes on the undercard of the Oklahoma Derby in September, and then catches the Clever Trevor in late October with another big sweeping move off the turn. Rene Diaz, the winning jockey, Danny Pitch, the winning trainer, Jake Brown of San Angelo, Texas, the winning owner. Jolly Samurai stays undefeated. It was the first victory in the Clever Trevor Stakes for all of the connections. Jolly Samurai paid $740. Dominant Spirit, number 4, a very game effort in second. Medicine Dog, the 6th, a solid third. Hot Gunner, number 7, was 4th. On now to the Springboard Mile for Jolly Samurai on the final night of the season. Jockey Harry Hernandez picked up 2 victories on Friday night, October 25th, to inch closer to 1,000 career victories in the United States. Hernandez won the 6th race of the evening with Macy Red, and then scored again in race number 9 on the turf course with Queen of Salsa. 2 victories. He is at 998, just 2 away to 1,000 in the United States for Harry Hernandez. We wrap up October and move into November this week at Remington Park, Wednesday, October 30th to Saturday, November 2nd. First race nightly is at 6:30 p.m. Breeders' Cup Friday takes place from Del Mar, simulcasting action there on Friday, November 1. Del Mar first race that afternoon at 1:35 p.m. Central. The first Breeders' Cup race from Del Mar is at 4:45 p.m. Central on Friday. Don't forget, on Friday, you can advance wager on all of the Saturday Breeders' Cup races here at Remington Park. Then we get to the big day on Saturday, November 2nd. Breeders' Cup Saturday from Del Mar. First race there is at 12:05 p.m. Central. The first Breeders' Cup Stakes race is at 2 p.m. And then, of course, Remington Park at 6:30. At Remington Park in Oklahoma City, I'm Dale Day. Now back to Sports Scene.
Michael Knight joins us next to wrap up the week in high school football. Look at the big games coming up this week across Oklahoma. Straight ahead, right here on Oklahoma Sports Scene.
The Tulsa Oilers are back on the ice for another ice melt a year. He shoots, he scores! This Saturday, 7:05 at the BOK Center, the Oilers take the ice against the Iowa Heartlanders for First Responders Night. The first 1,000 fans get a free Tulsa Oilers t-shirt. Don't miss the ultimate in fast-paced entertainment. It's turned over and going the other way. Get your tickets now at TulsaOilers.com. It's smash-mouth, hard-hitting, pulse-pounding excitement. Oh, I can feel that one. Tickets at TulsaOilers.com. This is your town, your team, your Tulsa Oilers hockey are back.
Shields is now open at the Woodland Hills Mall in Tulsa, and we can't thank you enough for the warm welcome. Whether you love the great outdoors, sports, or fashion, Shields has something for everyone. Our passionate and knowledgeable Shields experts are excited to welcome you to explore thousands of brands and premium products. From our golf simulator, service shop, archery lanes, and more, we're ready to get you fitted with the best gear for you. We can't wait to see you at Shields.
Our story. It lives in Tulsa, where the spirit of the past lives alongside us and urges us on toward a vibrant future. Because our story is still being written. It's the story of Tulsa, told by the journalists who live it and love it. Whether it's covering our rich history, bringing you the hidden gems of the food scene, or following the action in local sports. And here, in the Tulsa world, is where it comes to life.
Well, nobody covers high school football like our man right here, Michael Knight with PepRedZone.com. Michael, catch us up. Where were you last week?
Yeah, not as long of a drive last week as the week before. Made it out to Sand Springs. They were hosting Muskogee.
Yeah, big game.
And that's defending champion Muskogee. Yeah. Undefeated on the season, and they looked it. I mean, Jamarian Ficklin, their quarterback, he's one of the best players in the state. He showed it early and often. And then another guy who doesn't get enough credit statewide is senior running back P.J. Wallace. He moved to Muskogee this offseason after several years at Bartlesville, where he was kind of under the radar as a player just because they struggled a little bit as a program.
Yeah.
And he had over 200 yards against Sand Springs. Really good game, really good performance from him. Really impressed by him, but he's a guy who I've seen multiple times over the last couple of years, and I think that he's one of the better running backs in Oklahoma, and hopefully performing for a program like Muskogee, who is going to be competing for another state championship. Hopefully that gives him some looks to get an opportunity to play at the next level.
Michael, the big 6A1 Powers kind of flex their muscles. Union just destroyed Broken Arrow 69-48. Jenks rolled over Moore 56-14. Owasso struggled. Edmond Santa Fe 31-27. That surprised me.
Yeah, it surprised me too, just because Owasso hasn't been tested like that all year. It doesn't matter if they were playing Bixby, Jenks, Union. They took care of all of them, and most of those games were over by the fourth quarter. So the fact that they had to play for all 4 quarters, 48 minutes, it was definitely surprising. But then again, Edmond Santa Fe and Owasso played a very competitive game last year as well. Maybe it's just something in that matchup that Santa Fe knows how to play the Rams and knows how to attack them. But I have no doubts that Owasso is still the top team in 6A1.
Yeah, the Rams coach Antonio Graham, in his first season, taking over the legendary Bill Blankenship. Guy's done a heck of a job.
Yeah, I mean, look, year one, you couldn't have scripted it any better, especially with the way they started the year.
Right.
Playing the teams that they had to play in the first month of the season. Like I said, you couldn't have scripted it better, and he has them in position to compete for another state title.
Shaker Reisig, really always been talking about one of the top high school quarterbacks in Oklahoma. He really put some numbers up the other day against Broken Arrow.
Yeah, look, when you're setting records at a school like Union when it comes to football, that gets your attention immediately. I mean, there have been some really good quarterbacks that have come through that program, but for him to throw for more yards and more touchdowns in a game than anybody else in the history of Union football, that gets your attention. The 28 for 32, nearly 90% completion percentage. I've been saying for a while now that Shaker is one of the most, if not the most accurate quarterback in Oklahoma, and that's proof of why. Look, he did it against a Broken Arrow team that's struggling a little bit this year, but they still have talented players, and to throw the ball 32 times, completing 28 of them for over 500 yards and 8 touchdowns is really impressive.
Jenks seem to be hitting their stride now. They just destroyed Moore 56-14 at Moore.
Yeah, and Moore, that's a team that got off to a hot start, and then they ran into a bit of a buzzsaw with the schedule with Bixby, Jenks, some of those teams. So they're kind of taking a step back. But Jenks, it looks exactly like what we saw from them last year, where they started the year slow. I believe they started 2-3 last season. They went on a run and got all the way to the state title game. This year they start 1-3, and you're seeing it start to click. The defense is playing lights out. The offense is starting to light up the scoreboard. We know they have talent, and so things are starting to roll for the Trojans as we get closer to the playoffs.
Michael Knight here at PepRedZone.com. Michael, what's your schedule like this week?
Yeah, so this week we have some big games across the state. I'm probably going to end up going and just kind of making the rounds, seeing a couple different games. See some teams and players that I haven't gotten a chance to see in person yet this season. So other than that, there's some really big games, especially in Class 5A. Carl Albert and Guthrie, I know, is a big game. That's a traditional rivalry in that class. And it's also a rematch of last year where Guthrie had Carl Albert on the ropes. Carl Albert faced 4th and goal, under a minute to play. If they don't score a touchdown, they're going to lose. And this is a team that went on to win the state championship. They scored on 4th down. They stunned the Blue Jays in the final minute. And so now you have a rematch of that game from last year. But Carl Albert, they've been absolutely dominant this season.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anybody in 5A that can touch the Titans this year. The only team that could is the other team in those marquee matchups. Del City, they're going on the road to face Claremore. If they win, they're the district champions. This is also a rematch of the 5A semifinals from a year ago. And I got to tip my cap to Claremore because I thought they were going to take a step back this year. They made a run to the semifinals last year, but they lost a lot from that team. And so I thought they might take a step back. They haven't. They've looked great, but they're hosting a Del City team that looks like they could be the top challenger to Carl Albert in 5A.
And Bixby travels west to take on Deer Creek, right?
Yeah, in Deer Creek, it's kind of similar to Moore, where Deer Creek started off hot. This is a team that wasn't necessarily expecting to be up in 6A1 this season. That happened back in April, and they started off on a really hot start. And I was thinking, maybe they don't need to kind of work their way into 6A1. Maybe they're going to be one of those top teams in the West immediately, but they've lost their last 2 games. They gave up 54 last week to Norman. So I think it's going to be tough for them hosting a Bixby team that, kind of similar to Jinx, is starting to really hit their stride.
So, Michael, the West Side closing the gap at all in the Big East powers in 6A1?
Technically, yes. I do think that the gap is getting smaller because a decade ago, 2 decades ago, it might as well have been the size of Oklahoma itself. It wasn't close. But I think that the gap is smaller now. I don't think that they're ready to take that next step yet. You have programs like Norman North, Edmond Santa Fe, Mustang. They've been knocking on the door, but we still haven't seen that team that has been that consistent contender like you see from Bixby, Jinx, Union, Owasso. The gap is getting smaller, but it's still massive.
All the information, all the highlights on PrepRedZone.com with, of course, Michael Knight. Back to wrap things up on Oklahoma Sports Scene after this final break.
Shields is now open at the Woodland Hills Mall in Tulsa, and we can't thank you enough for the warm welcome. Whether you love the great outdoors, sports, or fashion, Shields has something for everyone. Our passionate and knowledgeable Shields experts are excited to welcome you to explore thousands of brands and premium products. From our golf simulator, service shop, archery lanes, and more, we're ready to get you fitted with the best gear for you. We can't wait to see you at Shields.
Thoroughbred season at Remington Park continues into December with plenty of winning primetime action. The final evening of the season will feature horses trying to reach the 2025 Kentucky Derby by competing in the Springboard Mile. Remington Park's top 2-year-old stakes event of the year leads a stakes-filled program. The normal Remington Park racing week is Wednesday through Saturday. First race nightly, 6:30 p.m. Special Monday and Tuesday racing happens in late November at 2:30 p.m. Visit RemingtonPark.com for all post times, group rates, and dining reservations.
The Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, home of the Paycom Jim Thorpe Award, is a treasure trove of memorabilia honoring Oklahoma sports legends. For museum hours or to schedule a tour, go to oklahomasportshalloffame.org.
The Wee Street Ice Center, the coolest place in town, is the only place you can skate like the pros. With 2 rinks, there's always time to strap on the blades and hit the ice. The Wee Street Ice Center at 43rd and Yale is your family fun destination. Try out the game simulator rooms or hit the arcade. When you get hungry, grab a bite at Puck's Sports Bar and Grill with delicious food, great drink specials, and more. It's Midtown Tulsa's coolest entertainment center. Wee Street Ice Center, the coolest place in town. Come get your skate on.
Very special guest next week here on Oklahoma Sports Scene, John Anderson, longtime ESPN Sports Center reporter. Does a lot of special things for the network. He's about to leave there to go back to his old alma mater, the University of Missouri. Tonight, both Mizzou men will talk about his career and about the Missouri-Oklahoma game coming up. Also, Chris Kaiser joins us from the Fellowship of Christian Athletes as they recognize and celebrate their 70th year of operation. That and much more on Oklahoma Sports Scene, so be sure to join us next week. Until then, as we always remind you, be a good sport.